Hey everybody, it's Friday and welcome to the shit nobody tells you about pain. Today we are going to be talking about mind to body, that it's a connection and your pain is more, it means more than just in your head, right? Um I find this phrase to be overused and under defined, and I think a lot of mistakes happen when we talk about the mind body connection and we hear that phrase and we automatically toss it out. So today, let's kind of talk about what it actually means so that we can be on the lookout for people that use it to sell snake oil. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So please remember, I am coming to you as someone that experienced chronic pain for 20 years, has now been almost 11 years pain-free, and has studied the science of pain and musculoskeletal issues for the last 11 years. Okay. So that is the perspective that I am coming from. That's where I'm talking from. So I'm somebody that has hmm, absolutely experienced it, has the t-shirt, and if it's of any interest, now suffers from long COVID, so brain fog and kind of chronic fatigue type symptoms, as well as some heart stuff is what I'm going through. So I really do understand from the patient perspective as well as the clinician perspective. I'm still also a licensed and practicing physical therapist assistant, although I am not practicing that while I am your pain coach. This is for educational purposes only, and you should always check with your doctor. All right. So, mind-body connection. Somewhere along the line in history, many hundreds of years ago, the scientific community decided that the mind was different than the body, or the spirit was different than the body, right? And so we ended up with all of these medical theories that were simply about the body or simply about the mind. And they're like two completely separate entities. And here we are in 2024, and people still don't realize that we don't experience anything without one or the other. Like if you don't have a brain, well, nothing happens. And I understand that they say mind, but I'm going to use brain and mind interchangeably. So for the purposes of this video today, they're the same thing. And if we don't have a body, the mind doesn't really matter because it has nothing to act on. Okay. And what connects those things is the nervous system. And if you followed me for any amount of time, you know that that is where my interest lies. The nervous system is the thing that connects the mind, the brain, the computer, the operating system to the vessel, or as I so affectionately refer to it often as the meat sack. Okay. These things work in concert. If we don't have a mind, our body can't do anything. If we don't have a body, the things that the mind wants to control or the brain wants to control, it has no ability to act because there's nothing to act on. That is the mind-body connection. Specifically on Instagram, I have a lot of people in my newsfeed trying to sell me solutions with mind-body connection that I find suspect, to be polite. So I would like to start with some basic understandings. One, pain is always real. Okay? Your pain is always real pain. It's not a pathology. Like pain is not like there is from the work of John Sarno, they have pathologized a very normal response called pain. And they've made it like the pain is the disease. Pain is a response to what's going on in your body. It's not a disease. You're not broken. Your body is responding appropriately, and your autonomic nervous system, if you're experiencing chronic pain, is a bit out of whack. It's overly sensitive, so we need to desensitize it. That is for a different video. already located on my YouTube channel. Just scroll through, you'll find all kinds of videos about that stuff. However, it's important to remember that if people are pathologizing pain, like if they're making it like you're broken, if they're making it like this is a diagnosis that nobody has found, nobody has seen, you're probably buying snake oil. Okay, just saying. So I do stress in my coaching and in my videos and in everything that I put out that as people experiencing pain, we have to treat the multifacetedness of pain, which is biological, psychological, and sociological. But that's all illness. All illness is like that. There is no illness, there is no disability that isn't biological, psychological, and sociological. Those things make up our world. So we must treat comprehensively. Some of that is going to involve our medical system. Some of that may include a psychologist or the world of psychology. A lot of it is going to be the things that we do for ourselves, understanding education, lifestyle choices, making better decisions, setting better boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. So when I say we're going to treat the whole, the whole of the human being, I'm not talking about holistic medicine in a traditional, like, get out your herbs and your essential oils kind of way. I mean, we literally have to treat the whole being in order for our pain to change. Okay. So understanding that pain is not just a tissue issue, that pain is a whole person issue is the beginning of healing. Okay. Whew. All right. Second thing that we need to look at when it comes to mind body is if we don't have a brain, we don't have pain. In professional circles, there is a huge, wildly annoying to me discussion about perception and pain and all of that. I'm not going to get into it because I will lose my mind because it irritates me so much. Because to me, it's just pretty simple. If I feel pain, I'm experiencing it because I perceived it. I recognized that it was there. So for me, that's the beginning and end of the discussion is of course there's a perception of pain because I'm aware that it's happening, right? All right. If we don't have a brain, the body cannot experience pain because pain is not in the tissue. Pain, like if you have shoulder pain, the pain is not in the tissue. Signals from the tissue go up to the brain. The brain goes through a variety of Rolodexes up there and then decides like what's going to happen, and pain comes down. Pain is a down, not an up. Okay. Yeah, we can talk more about that later, I guess, if we get more sciencey. But the point is that pain is a down pathway. It comes down from the brain or the spinal column if it's immediate, like hot burning. That's at the spinal cord level. But the point is, if we don't have a brain, we don't have pain. We also don't have a heartbeat. We also can't speak. We also can't like move limbs because the brain is the conductor of everything. It decides what's happening and when, right? So I think that that's really, really, really important to learn because we all are kind of taught and seem to think that the pain is in the tissue. That is not where the pain is located, which is why we can have scans and no pain and have arthritis, because the brain hasn't decided that there's enough going on in the system as a whole to produce pain. All right. Now, pain, being in pain, the experience or perception of pain, if you will, does affect our brain and our other symptoms. I find this endlessly fascinating, and I'm going to try not to bore the ever-loving snot out of you today on things that I find fascinating about the brain and pain. I do want to remind you that our brain is highly changeable. It is not static. So while some of the things I'm about to share with you may feel a little concerning, please remember that it is not a permanent state, right? Our brains are constantly in flux, but these are some of the things that happen when we're experiencing chronic pain. Chronic pain literally reduces the amount of gray matter in our brains. And the gray matter is what controls learning, attention, memory, thought process, motor control, and coordination. That's a lot. So I'm going to repeat that. Learning, attention, memory, thought process, motor control, and coordination. So if you are in chronic pain and you are experiencing issues with any of those things, that would be normal. That would be a normal state for the abnormal state of being in pain. Okay? So yes, your gray matter shrinks. It is not permanent. Okay? However, the longer you go untreated, the longer it's going to take for your brain to recover. All right? The neurochemistry, if you will, of a chronic pain patient is different than those that don't have chronic pain. And neurochemistry just means the messages that are being sent throughout the body and the chemicals that affect the nervous system, but it is different. Your body is altered because of your chronic pain, which means that you're probably going to have amplified pain signals. So pain is going to be greater for you than it is for somebody that doesn't have chronic pain. And the brain's decision to send pain is going to happen faster than in somebody that doesn't experience chronic pain. It also means that sounds and smells can be heightened. You may have less tolerance to those things because your nervous system and your neurochemistry has changed. Okay? Again, not normal, but normal for the person experiencing chronic pain. When we continue year after year after year after year after year to only treat the tissue, and it's not working to fix the pain, it's become very clear to me that we're treating the wrong thing. Okay? Scientists have discovered that in the patient with chronic pain, the area or region of your brain that controls your emotions is constantly active. Sorry, dog's digging to China again. So we're functioning out of our amygdala, out of our emotional brain, as opposed to out of our prefrontal cortex, where that gray matter is, that's shrinking while we're in pain. And we're constantly stuck on in fight or flight, right? So our brains are always really noisy. And this often correlates with a reduced attention span, trouble with problem solving, trouble with thinking clearly, right? Pain fog, brain fog, pain fog, because we are constantly in our limbic systems. This is exactly what I mean when I say brain-body connection, right? So you're experiencing something in your physical body that is also altering your brain, the way that you think, the way that you're able to problem solve. And that's why it's so important that we slow down and we look at a lot of the things that we do in my 6-month program, Moving Beyond Pain. Because we need to get a hold of all that stuff, and we need to look at that stuff and treat that stuff so that we can try to get our brains back into a normal state so that our pain starts to recede. Okay? Because we are up in our emotional centers, our brain is constantly turned on. People with chronic pain have also been found to have lower serotonin levels than normal. If you know anything about serotonin, you know that it is currently linked to depression. Serotonin also keeps your mood stable and gives you a general sense of well-being. It also has other processes in the body, but low levels of serotonin is the definition of depression. So I'm not saying that you're depressed, but I am saying that as somebody experiencing chronic pain, you probably have low levels of serotonin and would benefit from a medication that would boost that. That can also help with other health problems, digestive issues, trouble sleeping, bone health, sexual health, and amazingly enough, even trouble with your blood clotting. Pain affects our hormonal and endocrine systems. It's not just tissue. It is not a musculoskeletal pain like a back pain is not just about your back. If you have been in pain for 6 months or more, it's beginning to affect all of these other systems. Okay. The hormonal and endocrine system is what regulates metabolism, sexual function, growth, development, sleep, mood, how our tissues function, and more. So when that system becomes out of balance, we get a lot of secondary effects to our mind and body, right? At one point in my early 30s, I will be 50 this summer, the summer of 2024. But in my early 30s, I was having what appeared to be like perimenopausal symptoms at like 31, 32. It was because of the stress on my system from the pain that had affected my entire endocrine system. And I was not producing estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And I needed replacements for all of that. Believe it or not, the very first year that I was out of pain, like that I was not constantly worried about it, that I had it dialed down to something that was manageable, I was able to get off all of those medications because my hormones leveled out again, because my endocrine system wasn't jacked up by the stress of constantly being in pain. Mind-body connection. Treat the whole. Getting rid of the pain certainly helps with this. But if the tissue treatments aren't working, we need to look at the other things. To manage symptoms, sometimes we need to go outside of this very narrow musculoskeletal pain pocket and take a look more multifactorially or more holistically, if you will, at the whole person and see what other systems is the pain affecting. We all know that stress is terrible for our bodies. It increases cortisol, which increases inflammation. Inflammation drives pain, and it also drives fear. And fear perpetuates pain and stress. Mind, body, connected. We cannot get away from this connection. So yeah, we got to handle the fear. We got to get out of fight or flight. We need to learn to listen to our bodies so that we can prioritize, because none of this is great. Constantly being in a state of fight or flight, like an unintended consequence of that, generally digestive trouble. Why? Because the body is not needing to digest food when you need to run away from danger. Now, the problem is we're not in danger all the time. So not digesting food, and slow gut motility leads to other problems like lack of serotonin. Our bodies are intricately woven. And when we take the brain out of the body and set it aside and say, this is a different thing, we miss all of these things that need to be taken care of when it comes to our pain. I understand that navigating this can be a minefield, and that in some ways it leaves you with way too many options. But in a lot of ways, it gives you a lot more healing opportunities than you really might have thought that you had. I want you to remember that the mind-body connection and embracing that does not mean that we're pathologizing it, okay? I had so many moments of doubt, years of doubt, really probably added all together, years of doubt when I thought that because there was a mental component to my pain, that made my pain less real, that couldn't be further from the truth. That is not what is happening. We have to recognize that our thoughts and our emotions and our physical sensations are deeply interwoven. We're not trying to find a scapegoat for our pain. We're acknowledging that it is the whole of us that needs to be taken care of. In order to heal from your chronic pain, you have to stop seeing this fake divide between the mind and the body. It doesn't mean that every ache and pain is a direct manifestation of our psychological state. It doesn't invalidate our physical experiences. It does open up a pathway for us to be more compassionate, to seek more comprehensive care, and to treat ourselves as whole beings. Get your life back. Start treating the things that you're not paying attention to. And if you need help, join me in Moving Beyond Pain. It opens the first week in July, 2024. I'll drop a wait list in the show notes. And if you want to get on the waiting list to hear more about this program, I would love to have you. I'll send out an email shortly before it starts. There'll be a workshop in my Facebook group. The mind-body connection is not a pathology. It does not need to be treated with herbs. It doesn't need anything special. It just needs you to pay attention to it, okay? It's not a disease. It's dis-ease within your body. But you're not broken. Your body is operating the way that it is supposed to, and we've got some things we need to fine-tune. Remember that. Don't let them make you feel broken. You've got this. I'll see you next week.